Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be unboxing a full setup from a shop called Tiki Ants, and then afterwards we're going to have a closer look at a mystery species which I got at AntCon last year. First up is the business card, which is another one to add to the collection of the many ant shops I've been to over the years. Next up we have a healthy layer of packaging, which is just to stop the acrylic from cracking or any damages, which is nice to see. Past the packaging, we get to the actual products. First off, we're giving a pipette, which will come in handy later for the nest. We're also giving a nice pair of tweezers, which to be honest I'm really happy about, and when I was unboxing this I was actually quite surprised, so thank you. He also gave me a sticker with his logo on, so I'll be sure to put that on the nest sometime soon. Now under the bubble wrap, which is another layer of protection for this nest and outworld, we are given, well, the nest and outworld, along with the outworld lid. We start by taking the nest and outworld out and then putting them together, but realistically, compared to all the other nests and outworlds I've had, these are probably some of the simplest and easiest ones to put together, and you'll see why in just a minute. First, we start by removing the protective film from the outworld, and I make it look a lot harder than it is because I don't have any nails. Next up is getting the lid for the outworld, as we don't want any of the ants escaping. After the outworld's secure, we can move our focus onto the nest. We'll start by removing the nest from the packaging, and once we've got it out, we can see where the pipette comes in, as there's a drainage hole on the left side of the nest. This allows for us to regulate the humidity throughout the nest by adding as much water as needed. It also adds a humidity gradient, as it only covers half the nest, so the ants can choose exactly what type of humidity they prefer. Going through the nest is also a hole on the floor, which serves as access if you want to use the nest sideways. Finally, we have the front connection port, which is what I'll be using today to connect it to the outworld. There's acrylic tubing coming out of the nest, which is also supported by a bolt. All you have to do to connect the outworld and nest together is remove the bolt from the nest, and then put the acrylic tubing through the hole in the outworld. Once they're in, you just need to place the bolt back onto the acrylic tubing once it's inside of the outworld. Now do take note of which way the bolt came off, as you're going to have to put it on the same way, because I made the mistake of not doing that and then fumbled around with it for like 5 minutes because I didn't realise that the bolt had two different sides and only one of them goes on, but in hindsight it's kind of obvious. Now another thing that I think is actually pretty cool is that if you have a smaller species in this nest, like a Temnophorax or a chromatic aster colony, and obviously, well, their legs aren't long enough to reach the floor from the tube, you can use the cap which sealed off the outworld to, well, bridge the gap. For right now, I'm not sure exactly which colony I'm going to be putting in here, so the bottom connector is going to be blocked off with cotton for the time being, as if they're a bigger species like my Fedchenko for example, I don't want them getting out and biting me. So by blocking it off with cotton, it gives me just a little bit more leeway for when I do eventually expand them out of the nest. Now you don't have to do this, and the plastic is more than enough to stop them from getting out, but if I expand them, I don't want them nesting in that little gap. Other than that one caveat, which really isn't that bad in hindsight, this is a really nice nest. I mean, a fully gypsum nest is something that I haven't seen in a while, and one that's done this nicely as well is quite nice to see, as they have textured flooring, which is just a little bonus for the ants inside. Now that I've seen the full setup together, there is one colony that comes to my mind straight away, and that is my mystery species, and well, I'll just have to show you them. Meet Odontoponera denticulata. These ants are commonly known as the toothed ponera ants, but I think that I can get a better name for this queen and colony. These ants form colonies of only 500 to 800 workers, and considering they're referred to as primitive and kind of hunter-gatherers, I thought that calling them the cavemen or cave women would probably be a good name. So tell me in the comments what you guys think. I'm also going to need some name suggestions for her, as I don't have one. So leave your name suggestions in the comments below for me, and I'll put them in a poll in the next week or two, and you guys can all vote to see what you want to name her. Now this is all under the happy assumption that she actually gets workers, as it's quite misleading what you might be seeing. Because, well, you might be thinking she has a cocoon and she's going to get workers anytime soon, and I thought the same thing at first. But this is her third cocoon and I've had her for about 8 months. And it's quite sad because every time she gets a cocoon, nearly 2 weeks into it, she throws it into the outworld. So I'm really hoping that she actually decides to open this cocoon up and get her first worker. I do also want to say that I'm really sorry that the past 2 videos have had some quite bad news about my colonies, but hopefully this will be the turning point and she can finally grow her colony. So please root for her in the comments, as I'll be feeding her every time she needs it and trying to keep her at the best health possible. So thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.